Hey, folks, this is Mark Devine. Welcome back to the Unbeatable Mind podcast. Super stoked to have you here. I'm up in Lake Tahoe at Squaw Valley with the Spartan World Champion, and I've been on a podcasting frenzy. And I know my guest here, Anthony Trucks, has also been doing that. Yeah. It's been really, really cool. Without much ado, I'm not going to give any more intro to Anthony, but except to say I'm super excited to meet someone who has gone through such trauma and hardship and yet continues to come out on top, and now is turning his attention to really helping other people deal with the shit and the shifts that happen in their life. Anthony is a former NFL player, a world-class athlete and coach, but it hasn't been an easy road, has it, buddy?
Oh man, no. I to be honest, I don't want it to be. I think now
well, in retrospect, right? We're like all that shit that happened, we're like, bring it on. We're glad that it happened. But it sure doesn't feel that way when we're going through it.
Oh no, in the moment of it, nobody enjoys pain, but it's a great deal of appreciation for the crazy. Yeah. Because now I don't have things that I won't do. I'll just
there's
try
nothing that can hurt you, right?
No, that's the whole thing. And when you get that kind of freedom, it's a way different life you live.
I tell you what, man, I used to lament, and I've talked about this on the podcast. Growing up in a family that had a lot of chaos in it, and physical abuse and alcohol, and I thought, oh man, I must have it bad. And then I'm like, that's nothing, because there was a lot of stability too, and I had the same parents that I still have, and I was never abandoned or given away. I was never tortured or left to feel completely unloved. There were just moments where it was just chaotic and abusive, and I'm like, that was actually pretty good compared to a lot of people.
I guess some aspects.
What was your life like? Because I read a little bit about your bio, and your first trauma was basically being abandoned by your biological parents.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say parents, just parent. My mom had me. She was single when she had me. My dad kind of took off and disappeared and left her, and then my mom had 3 more kids. So it was one of 4, oldest of 4. And then at 3 years old, she gave us away. So I entered the foster care system.
So she gave all of you away to
all of
foster
us.
system.
I remember the day it happened too. Oddly, at 3 years old, I can still see it in my head.
That's rare.
Yeah,
to have that memory. Yeah.
And I don't like it. I mean, it's not that I enjoy the memory, but it's one of those ones I can anchor back to of where I came from. So I get a great deal of gratitude every day, knowing where it started. But yeah, she put us into a crazy whirlwind, because it was 1986, I want to say. Right. So at this time, there's no social media, there's no internet, so there's no connection of what's going on. I'm a kid. And so the houses that I get put into back then is what's called a paycheck. So you get paid to have me there.
Right. They're getting money from the system to take kids in. Where was this?
The East San Francisco Bay Area, a town called Martinez. Martinez was the area of the base, but I was in Concord, Pittsburgh, little towns that surround that area.
So what was the foster experience like?
For me, not too much. Not too nice.
It was.
Nice. It's one of those things.
Was it like being in a dormitory with a bunch of other kids?
Oh no! So you're thinking group home, kind of like boarding school type things, or in orphanages. So imagine you go to somebody's home.
Okay.
It's an actual house, and these people take care of you. And I mean, the people that I was probably the 6 houses I went to, 4 of them were bad.
Why would you bounce around? Because
they just move you.
They just move you.
It's instability to the max. You have no idea where you're going to be the next day. So
really?
There's days you just come home and there's a car out there, your bag of clothes is put in the car, you're put in the car, and you go to this new place, having no idea why you're leaving, no idea where you're going, and it's very odd. I remember those days of just coming home from school. There's a new car out front. I just got to get in the car and go somewhere. It's difficult, because I think for me as a kid, I didn't know any different, right? Because you don't know when you're crazy, so you embrace it. You just I guess what I do, you really get used to the normalcy of having no normalcy. That was my world.
That's your world.
And so
were you bouncing around from schools too, or just?
Oh yeah. I wasn't allowed to go to kindergarten for more than 30 minutes or an hour, I was told, because I was really bad. And obvious reasons. I'm
you're just acting out.
Yeah, I'm acting out. There's a lot of craziness, instability. I think I did kindergarten twice, which you don't usually do kindergarten twice.
Yeah, no, normally they wait for a few years. You're not learning anything in kindergarten anyway.
Yeah, they're like, let's go do it again. We don't want him in first grade.
Good job, by the way.
Yeah. So, but
awesome.
I mean, in these houses, man, I bounced around, which was
maybe that's why you were so successful in other things. You got to do kindergarten twice.
Yeah, man, I was more creative.
Maybe there's a formula there.
Yeah, everybody can take your kids back from do kindergarten twice. Right. Yeah, do like Billy Madison, he went back to kindergarten.
Right, maybe I'll do it again. I would like to do kindergarten.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I can laugh about it now, but back then, dude, it was tough. It was because these houses, they wouldn't feed you. Although they're getting paid for me, that money's not going to me. Then I buy me clothes. There was one house, they put me in this chicken coop. in the back. It was in Pittsburgh down by the train tracks, I remember. And it was like, there's a chicken coop in the back. They'd put me in, and they'd make me chase a chicken to catch a chicken so I could earn my meal that night. And if I didn't eat.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's weird. And then I would in the middle of the night sneak out and like get food. And if I got caught, I got beat. And then if I did get food, I'd get as much as I could, and I'd hoard it and hide it behind the bed. Right. I remember one day, like they pulled the bed back and saw all this food hidden and like beat me because it's just like really.
How long did you stay at that place?
Oh man, I don't even know.
How come you didn't run away? I mean,
I'm sure I wasn't even 6 years old yet.
Oh, you weren't.
It's like between 3 and 6. This is like I think the girth of this happened between like 4 and 6, like little kid times. And so like at 6 years old, like there's a house that they put me like out in the shopping cart on the top of a hill, would push me down the cart and like make me hit the bottom. Hopefully no cars come. I'd fall out, put me back in, do it again.
Just like for fun?
Just for fun. It was like a weird, like I had like this disdain for humanity, or had for a lot of years. Like why? Like this is what I was exposed to as a kid. This is what I thought life was. So I had a lot of anger. That's why I would took it out on teachers and classmates. Right. And so like they'd put me on the curb and like force me to lick the bottom of the neighbor kid's shoes. And like I remember like just like my tongue would bleed and like they just keep doing it. Like really weird, torturous, odd thing. So at 6 years old,
that's horrible that those people are involved in foster care. But
but back then, how'd you know?
It's part of their whole welfare system, I guess.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, I remember I was moved from house to house. Like the family I got moved into, which is my family now, was told I showed up with like, weird corduroys that didn't fit, boots that wouldn't fit, a weird like halter top purple shirt because it wasn't even big enough, but it's what they put me in with, like dirty hair. Like no one cared. And nobody knew was the worst part. Like there's no social, there was no videos. And if I said something like, no, we would do that. Oh, I didn't do that. What are you talking about? What do you do? Like it's this little kid making an excuse. Right. And what you don't realize is as a little kid, they know that all you want to do is go home. So a lot of these little foster kids make up stories to be able to say these people are horrible so they can go to a new home or so they can go back with their parents. Oh, interesting. So it's like it's really in between. And so there's no way to know. And then you age through it and get to a crazy place. And I think for me, a lot of the craziness, we'll call it, ended at 6 when I moved to a new house. What
kind of scars lingered and how did you kind of overcome there's obvious trauma that happens at an emotional level.
It took me a lot of years.
Yeah, it did. How did you overcome it? Because this is one of the things that's really interesting to me because I'm a big promoter of emotional development, especially for men, because, childhood trauma like this is not uncommon. It may be more severe in cases like you and than like for me, but everyone's got some form of it. And so emotional development is really critical, but it's really not accessible to most guys, mainly because they don't think about it.
They don't want to accept it either.
They don't want to accept it. They think that's going to make them look weak. So how did you deal with it?
Man, accidentally, I think I was put in positions where I was forced to. Like I saw him in this house with my, I think the change out of it started when I was like between like 8 and 14. Right. Because I'm in this house with this family. My real mom's kind of still in the background. Like I wasn't allowed to play sports or do much because she had what's called parental rights. So like she kind of messed me up for a lot of years. And then I finally got adopted at 14, but it took a lot of years of letting that family love me. Like it was this weird thing where like in my head, like this is kind of my family, but it's not really my family. I'm not really adopted. So I mean, 14 years of my life, like this is kind of what I knew. And it got to the point where, I finally got adopted and things changed. But you asked, like, how'd I deal with it? Like, I didn't deal with it until maybe like 10-ish years ago.
Yeah. How old are you now?
35.
35. So
still
that's pretty young to be dealing with that in your mid-20s.
Yeah. And I went through, different levels of life. And like my adoptive mom got diagnosed with MS. I tried this sport called football. Like I got good at that, obviously. Played in the NFL and had a kid at 20 and, married my high school sweetheart and got divorced. All this craziness. And I went through like situations.
And so that I imagine, like I read your bio, so you were just like, you were swinging like a pendulum between good and bad, and that was clearly to me the result of just this fractured childhood and your inability to really find the middle path or find the balance in life.
Find a solid foundation.
Find the foundation, right? And so you're just always grasping for here or there, and then hoping things would work out. Yeah,
that's really what it is. You're hoping. Yeah. It's weird. Like there's an in between for me. So one is, I don't like instability, right? I don't. Like the NFL was interesting. People think like, it's amazing, everybody wants to be there, but like you never know if you have a job tomorrow.
Right, I can see that. I've met a lot of NFL guys. There's a lot of instability there, even though most NFL people from the outside looking in, it looks like a really stable thing.
Oh no,
you got a lot of people showering attention on you.
Not
but
for
long. You show up every day and you got to earn your slot, right? Like we said in the SEAL teams, you got to earn your trident every day. You'd be off the team if you start fucking off.
Oh, that's what happens in football. The exact same verbiage.
Really? Yeah, you got to earn it every day, huh?
So, I mean, for me, it's also the one difficult part is like, because I went through so much change and I know how to do it, I guess I know how to navigate the shifts, like I'm not scared of it also. So I'll leap at things. So there's times in my life when the instability has thrown me, and then times in my life where my ability to navigate instability has thrown other people in my life off.
Interesting.
So it's like knowing that. So you ask, like, where does it show up? Like, it still shows up to this day. I have weird thoughts. My wife, like, she's good with understanding that, and I'm good with not pressing on her and like forcing her to do things. Like, I got to do this. You have to go. You know, it's like I have a balance now, but it took a lot of years to really grasp that. Like, I have these things that I'm not even realizing are going on, because who we are is who we are. We're not thinking about who we are.
Yeah, it's the subconscious part and the conditioned patterns that really drive the
we just
behavior.
operate.
Yeah.
And then we're like, why is everything going crazy? And like, even like, why is everything the things just happen? And so for me, like,
do you believe you create the conditions that show up in your life?
Every day, every single one of them.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people really get that. They hear those words and they think it's kind of a platitude.
Mm-mm.
But when you really pay close attention, you recognize that pretty much most of what happens to us and around us is self-created or co-created with those you attract in your life or the situations you put yourself in.
Yeah. I mean, perfect example for me, like at 25, 26, like I got to this point where like I had my wife, we post NFL, lost my career to injury, came home, had 2 more kids. My wife had an affair, like shook me, right? And for 3 years.
This is your ex-wife.
This is my ex-wife,
okay,
who's now my current wife. Long story, we can get into it. Not super.
Now you're current or not? Current?
Now, yeah.
Okay.
Because this is.
I saw you married your
high school sweetheart.
Yeah. So she's the one that had the affair, and you guys spun out of control for a while.
Yeah, and that's the thing is.
Let me back up and do a little chronology here, because
There's a lot of weird stuff to unpack, man. I know. Hey, you welcome to my world.
I'm like trying to figure out how
you're experiencing my instability right now. Look at it.
Exactly. My head is going like,
oh man,
like a ping pong ball. So you got interested, or you were obviously a good athlete in high school. You played football in high school.
Yeah,
you
but I wasn't good at first. At first, I was bad.
Really?
Really bad.
You're not that, like, when you think of NFL players, you think of 6'5".
Nah.
Linemen or running backs.
Mm-mm.
How tall are you?
6'1".
You're 6'1". So we're about the same height.
Yeah, linebacker.
You were a linebacker?
Linebacker.
Were you fat? You must have been fast then.
I was fast and big, yeah.
Okay.
I gotta show you a picture, man.
I would love to see
Nobody
it.
ever believes, because I'm a smaller guy now, purposely.
You had a lot more
I don't like to actually
mass.
eat and lift like I used to, but this is what I used to look like. I was a house.
Yeah,
like,
that,
I was
that
a
is
monster,
a house.
man.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
and I
about
used to run
50
and-
pounds more.
I was a big boy, man.
More.
That's almost my job, though. But yeah, I was. Most people think of us as these massive.
Okay, so
humans.
you got recruited out of high school to go in the NFL, or we went to the
No,
Did you
college.
just walk in?
No,
or college?
I got a scholarship. So, well, I was bad the first 2 years of football. Like, and that was like, I just tried this thing like football because I really wanted to. I love to hit people, but like I got in trouble for it usually.
Right.
So like football, I could do it, not get in trouble.
You could do it right.
Yeah, and so
legally.
I leaned into it. There was a point in time where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I actually checked out. Like I was like, I'm not going to do this. And then had a few moments that like set me straight. Like I got to try to.
Did
be
you
great
have a
as
coach or a mentor who inspired you or kind of showed you the way?
I think they came as I invested. I think coaches will invest in those who want to have investment.
True
right?
that. I agree
So
with that,
I had a guy named Chris Matthews, who was my receivers coach back my freshman year, and he was the dude who just like real cool, regular dude, but like he saw something, but like he tried to get you to do more, but he wasn't gonna push you.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to push, he'll guide you.
Right.
And he was a guy that he called me Tony, Tony Trucks, like still does. and yeah, he was one of the guys that when I kind of decided like I got to be good at this, he hopped on, helped me be better for sure.
Okay. So you got a scholarship to where?
University of Oregon.
Oregon.
I'm
Okay.
a duck, man. Go
You
Ducks.
are a duck.
Yeah.
Quack, quack.
Yeah.
So you played football at Oregon. Did you do all 4 years?
I did. I didn't register, actually. I came in. I started my true sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I met my biological dad, my first collegiate start on national TV, and I got a game ball from the game.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it was an interesting day.
That's a pretty interesting day.
Yeah, so
How's
I
your
got
dad
there.
doing, by the way?
He
Is
passed away a
Oh,
few
yeah.
years back, yeah.
Did you have a decent relationship with him?
It was interesting because at this point I was still navigating that, right? And so
Yeah.
like he's like, I didn't know you existed. He's like, I'm so sorry at this time. Fast forward 9 years, like before he passed away, he's like, hey, I want to let you know I did know about you the whole time. I just didn't know how to tell you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I got a lot of interesting parts of this in my life, man. So yeah, but it was an interesting day, and at this time I had a son too. So at 20 years old, I had a son my sophomore year of college with my high school sweetheart,
Right.
who actually was my fiance before we got
And did
pregnant.
she moved up to Oregon with you?
She did. Yeah,
Okay,
she
cool.
went to UC Davis. She actually has her master's summa cum laude in special education.
Good for her.
She's a monster.
Oh, that's cool. So then you got recruited. Did you get recruited out of into the NFL, or did you do a walk-on?
It's a free agency.
Free agency.
I didn't get drafted. The Buccaneers strung me along for like 2 or 3 rounds, and they're like, hey, we'll just sign you after the draft. So signed, went to the Buccaneers after. Yeah,
Okay.
first team, Coach Gruden.
Okay. And then fast forward through your NFL career. How did that go? Like, what was that?
NFL stands for not for long. Okay? It's quick.
Actually got me on that one. That's really funny.
It's really,
to be fair, what is the average career length?
If you take into account all the guys who get signed like for camp in like March, April, whatever it is, to who actually gets the roster 53 later, it's something like 6-7 months. Because so many guys come and go. Now, if you get signed, you make it into like camp and you make it into a team, it's like 3 years or less. Because you get pension at 3 years, 3 games. So a lot of teams are like, all right, 3 years. Like,
3 years, 2 games, you're out.
Yeah, it happens.
I bet it does.
And no one picks you up. Because like they know if they give that one game, they got to give the pension. Interesting world, man.
I've never heard that.
NFL's cutthroat, dude. It is a cutthroat realm to live in.
So how did you last 3 years and 2 games?
No, I got hurt in my third.
You got hurt?
I tore my shoulder my third season, my third year,
And you played for 3 teams in those 3 years?
Yeah.
That is unstable.
Oh, it's just the world you live in, man. You have to get used to it. You bounce around. I think my first year after I got released from the Buccaneers, I had like 8 workouts, which means every Tuesday you fly out to a new team and do a workout. Like you're around guys you don't know. You're in hotel rooms with guys you don't know.
And they're just scouting. You're looking at you.
Well, what they do is they bring you to the facility, put you through a workout for like 20, 30 minutes. You're just like a piece of meat.
And what, to see if they want to pick you up?
Pretty much, yeah. So they always have these running like boards of guys who are available. And what happens is, based on how the operation of the league is going, like the scouting department for the team, if somebody gets picked up, they go off the board. Someone's a free agent, they go on a certain part of the board. And so what they're doing is trying to see who's where. So they'll fly you in, put you on a board somewhere, and if somebody gets hurt week 4, 5, 6, hey, you might get the call to come in.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or they might need somebody right now, and you get signed and you stay there.
And if you're not picked up, you're just sitting around at home training?
Sitting at home training, preparing for a Tuesday when somebody hopefully gives you a call for a workout.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Imagine that. You can't even get started on life because you're still
waiting.
Right.
You're just, you're either in or you're out at that point.
Yeah.
So in a sense, almost the injury was a blessing in disguise.
It really was. I didn't realize that at first.
Right, of course not.
Yeah, you don't think it is. Even like mental, like my brain, I've had brain scans since, and my brain has physical damage, but not cognitive processing damage.
Right.
My brain's physically older than it should
be.
The
research on TBI, it's just insane.
Yeah.
How much TBI there is in the military, in NFL, and probably a lot of other sports,
there's a lot of different things.
Hockey, and I don't know.
Motocross, all the things.
Motocross, right.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah, there's a big opportunity to really help healing and also just to improve the sports. And I think, like I'm running a panel later on about how sports are changing. There's a lot of people who are looking at those sports, a lot of kids going in and saying, you know what?
Well, the game's going to change, man.
Yeah, I don't want to have brain damage and be drooling on myself when I'm 50 years old.
It's odd because now is like, of all times to ever play the sport of football, now's the best because they're focused on safety.
Yeah, and the helmet technology is getting much better, and the rules
are still going to change. I mean, if you just took a wave of like, a percentage of kids off the field, which has already happened, you're going to feel that 10, 15 years from now. Mm-hmm. So that the league's going to change massively, I think, in the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I agree. That's fascinating. So after NFL, what were you going to do? Did you have a plan? Or
No. What was a plan, man?
How many do, right? Yeah. I see that so much with the military guys, like especially in Spec Ops. Like you're a rock star, right? And you're running all over the world doing cool stuff and getting all the girls and getting paid fairly well.
Yeah.
And they know their day is coming. They're going to retire or get injured. Hopefully not.
No one preps for it.
Hopefully not the opposite or the other thing.
Yeah.
And then they get out and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And there's finally some organizations popping up to help guys figure out a transition plan and get the healing they need if they need it, which most do. Put a resume together,
something,
network or do something, right?
That's kind of what I have to figure out. I mean, my work now is an identity, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
Like I had a crisis.
Yeah.
Obviously,
you go from one structure, NFL, that has all these rules. I'm
being told what to do every day.
You're being told what to do. You're being told what you're going to get paid.
Yep.
You're being told what to wear, how to act. Where to be.
You have to think about
Same
it.
thing in the military. It's such a tight structure. And then the next day, nothing.
It's all you.
Blank
Good
slate. Luck. Yeah. Have fun with that.
We didn't teach you how to do that. We taught you to play this game, but we didn't teach you how to live life.
Yeah.
And you're left.
I tell a story in my book, The Way of the SEAL, about how I found my first identity, which was to go from, I was a CPA, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Certified public accountant.
What?
I kid you not.
Oh, okay.
And then I joined the SEALs at 25 as an officer. And, the process was one of deep introspection and meditation and, basically purpose finding. And it was extraordinarily powerful. But then when I got out of the SEALs, I had to kind of go through it again because I went into business. But the first business I went into was just about beer. It was a microbrewery.
Oh, really?
And, you know, obviously it didn't work out that well because the business is really successful, but it was a disaster for me because it wasn't my calling.
Yeah.
At any rate, so that's my story. How did you find your identity, and what did you stumble upon in terms of tools or insights that...
It broke my life, man.
Yeah. Okay.
But legit, I went home and broke it. Because when I came home, you know, you try to find out, like, what else can I... Because we want that sense of self-worth.
Right.
What else can I pour into? And so for me, it's like I have my degree in kinesiology.
Do you find that self-worth comes from, like, your spiritual center or some deep inside or inner voice? Because a lot of people do have that experience.
Yeah, I mean, there is a spiritual sense to it, but I think the self-worth comes from something you create. I think what you create creates you.
Oh, I
think
love that.
what I develop, what I put out into the world creates that sense of pride. And I gotta believe that in the moment when it needs. Like, if somebody challenges me, I gotta believe to my core, like, no, I'm strong enough, I'm smart enough, I can do this. Because if not, I don't lean into it heavy. Yeah. And I don't get that unless I did the work. I had to create that, right? So I think for me, when I came out, I was trying to create that. I didn't know I was creating, right? So I came out like, I'm going to pour into this gym I created and open because my degree's in kinesiology, so like I know this space. So I went there. Problem was, I now have 3 kids, I got a wife, and I'm at the gym from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Right. So I'm not really a husband or a dad right now.
Yeah, running a gym is it's like 3 full-time jobs.
All day.
Yeah, I've done that before.
And the thing is, we get into it, and most people who leave situations, we want to be in control because we were the rock star, like you said. And the problem is it's like you can't do everything. You actually ruin the business by trying to do everything. Right. And that's what I did. Like, I got 9 months into this new space. I had lease, all equipment in, all NFL money gone into this. And I was looking at eviction.
No shit.
Yeah, looking at eviction. On top of that, this is where I found out my wife's, you know, having this affair. So, like, I've lost my career. My business is failing. My body, I'm not even in great shape anymore. I stopped taking care of my health, just so focusing on getting the business right and taking care of bills now. And I'm not even being a present dad. And, like, everything's just stripped. So, like, I lost even more, you know? Like, it was, like, a really dark bottom.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting because, you know, it's like the hero's journey. You went down one path, you know, thinking it was it. Mm-hmm. And you had to get to your dark night of the soul moment. Oh, yeah. And it was because you were heading down the wrong path. Yeah. You were fighting the wrong fight.
Nobody knew. I didn't know.
And you didn't know.
Yeah. People call it like climbing
the obstacles kept piling up until you finally had to either ask for help or like turn within deeper and find help there.
You seriously had to ask for help. Yeah. That's the catalyst. And I didn't even, problem was I didn't ask for help where I needed help. That was the biggest thing that didn't.
Well, it's true, because you're not looking at the real root problem anymore.
Most people don't.
Yeah,
I thought I needed help in the business.
Right.
And I needed help with Anthony.
Right.
And so, like, when I figured the business thing out enough to keep it running, to like just keep it above water.
You still have it today, by the way?
I sold it last December, actually, a little over a year ago. So it's no longer, that's the difference. It's chapter closed.
It's not a kettlebell you're dragging behind you anymore.
Yeah. And I actually, it was interesting because I sold it this time. Previously, I closed it in 2014, but I didn't really master it. I got a big $250,000 contract to do some work. So I was like, well, I don't have to do this gym right now. I'm going to go and try to do a speaking thing, coaching thing. And so I kind of did that. And then I had some money. So I was like, you know, let me see if I can try to master this before I close that chapter for good. So I opened it back up just to see if I could run it right the way I really wanted to. Did really well. Was able to sell it for a profit. And so like I've closed that in my heart, that chapter.
Well, that's kind of cool, yeah. So it didn't go down in the log as a failure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even previously it didn't, because like the lease was up, I sold the equipment, so it wasn't a failure, but I knew. Yeah. Like I knew. And so like I wanted to know when it was all said and done.
I had a similar experience, although I did close my business, but I closed it as a win because I had to fight our city for even for the right to keep the location.
Interesting.
They wanted us to get a major use permit for a small CrossFit gym, which is more like a yoga studio or martial arts studio. None of them have to have a major use permit in our town.
Why would they do that?
Well, because their laws were written for like Gold's Gym, you know, and they have showers and pools and parking. Yeah. Anyways, and the real issue was we were a military type establishment called SEAL Fit in a town that didn't really want military there.
Oh, yeah. So there's more politics behind it.
So we kind of fought. We ended up getting our use permit. But then we realized, or we said, you know what, that battle was worth fighting. But this business is not our core business anymore. And it's just, you know, using the 80-20 rule. Yeah. 80% of our effort was going into a business that was giving us less than 20% of our return. Yeah. And so we decided to shut it down after all that.
Smart move.
And then, you know, our focus has been much more radically focused on growing our core business, which is similar to yours, coaching, you know, team building, executive coaching.
Nice.
You know, leadership development. And then we still run the SEAL Fit events and our online training. So a lot of online stuff.
I like it. That's where I'm at, man.
That's where you're heading to.
You reach more people that way, too.
For sure.
More
yeah,
impact.
It's scalable. So tell us about like this version of Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How the hell? I call it like updating your programming, right?
Yeah,
Like we're all hardware. We're bodies walking around, but we're operating off of like software from when we were kids. Like
right.
and
a lot of people don't upgrade their software.
They don't. And they wonder, like, you get like their life, if it's like bogged down, it's like that spinning wheel of death in your computer, like it won't move. That's what a lot of us are doing.
Yeah.
And so for me, I went through the crazy. It's like going back to like the situation with my ex. You were talking about like taking ownership and seeing where we had control. Like her decision was her decision. Right? It's 100% hers, but she didn't get to a place I feel like she needed to make a choice by herself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's where it's like, man, I had to take some ownership for that. Realizing that she did what she did, and in doing so, like, she didn't do it to hurt me. She just did it to help her. It's like so part of me was
filling
like
a hole that you
exactly.
You weren't filling for her.
And I think that's one of the things. Is a lot of people think there's malicious actions behind when somebody hurts you.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't malice. It was just like her feeling neglected.
That's a really good point that needs to be brought forth a little bit more. Most people think that people do things to them.
Mm-hmm.
People do things just because they do things
for them.
They do them for themselves.
Yeah,
it's very rare that someone actually will do something to hurt you.
Yeah, unless you did something. Yeah,
unless you did something to deserve some retribution or like a violent criminal or something.
And then you better not be so
Even
mad.
then, they're doing it because they don't feel whole and they're projecting or they're doing something because it's their issue.
Yeah.
So ultimately, most people, if not all people, are predominantly concerned with themselves.
They are.
Until you get into a real open-hearted relationship, and then it's like two-way street.
Yeah, which is where I'm at now. It's pretty
awesome.
cool.
So you've got a coaching business.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to help people deal with their identity shifts. I love that positioning, from a business standpoint. I'm like, that's really cool because it really is ultimately about the ego's stories, which then show up in your behavior, your subconscious programming, and your identification of what your specific roles are in life. And like you said earlier, astutely, that they're pretty much driven by programming from the first 7 years of your life.
Yeah, you never look at upgrading. Like there's always like the computer like screen comes up. So you want to update? People click a no. Like,
right? No,
I don't want to update.
No,
later,
it's
an
too
hour.
scary to update because
it is.
It might get
you might get a bug and you might have the old software or something.
Right.
They got to work the bugs out, but
or you just won't know how to run the new software.
Yes,
you know what I mean. I'm comfortable. People are comfortable with comfort.
My wife's like her phone. She doesn't like to update her phone for the same reasons, and I can look at that. I'm like, hey, figure it out.
Right.
The thing is, there's going to be new needs in the future.
So you got to get comfortable with change and discomfort and always growing, and not fear that you're not going to know or like the next version of what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I want to get to some specifics. Like, how did you figure that out for yourself, and how do you help others?
So I think the thing for me was leaning into needing to figure things like that situational relationship, the business aspects, my health, parenting. I don't coach anybody in an area I've never mastered myself, or at least come close to like a mastery, right?
So those are 4 areas that you're pretty good at.
Yeah, that's just what I lived through, right? And so where you ask like where I got to, for me, it was just going through and trying to figure like how do I fix what's broken by putting everything on Ant.
Yeah,
because I'm strong. Like I got the strength to handle it. So like you talk about the ego aspect, I just push it to the side. Like I really like where am I broken? What's wrong? What's going on? I spent a lot of time in books, still do. A lot of group programs, seminars, talking to people, having open conversations. I did all the things that most people, like you said, are afraid to do to update the software. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is went in and said, okay, where are the bugs? Where are the glitches? What I got to upgrade?
What were the scariest things that you did?
For me, it was like taking ownership of the relationship was tough, right? Of what happened there. The scary thing was taking her back.
Did you guys get any help with that? Like therapist and whatnot?
We did therapy, but the problem with therapy is if you don't have 2 people who want to be there, it just doesn't work.
True that.
It's the weirdest thing. And people are like, go see a therapist. Like they can't convince
participants,
it.
Right?
2 openly who want to in there, and none of us want to be there. And for us was faith was a big piece of fixing it. Mm-hmm. Top of that, scary thing was having to own up. Like there's a part of me that has always never wanted my kids to have the kind of anything close to what I had. So when this took place, like now that I've owned that I was part of that relationship, I also had to own like, man, I was putting my kids in a position to have them not have a solid, stable house, just like I didn't have, and that killed me too. Yeah. So it's like these things.
You saw the pattern repeating itself.
It was big, and it's for me like that was you asked like how did I figure these things out, and I just had to look at it. And so since I've actually taken tons of time to sit back and look at like neuroscience and how like psychology works, and I opened up my brain, not be like this dumb jock, but like learn the science behind it all to create processes that I actually walk people through to do this. There's 3 stages I work through: see, shift, sustain. See what got you here, why you're stuck, see where you can actually go. Do the work to shift is a process we go through, and then how do you sustain that for a long period of time. Because some people have
I like
success,
that. Yeah.
but they get stuck there and the world keeps moving.
Right.
And the idea is like, how do I sustain my growth so I never fall back behind the curve, never slide back downhill? And then how do I get to that next level, like serving in some way? Because my level of happy now is amazing. But the only reason, like, way I can get to that next tier of happy is like to give somebody else happy from what I've gone through.
Yeah, right.
So it made sense of all my crazy to be able to give it back to the world a different way.
See, shift, change.
Sustain.
Sustain.
Yeah.
See, shift, sustain.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the shift is the change.
Shift is the change.
So I like to chunk those out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't have the capacity to see their truth or to see what's going on in their life.
Mm-mm.
So I think, the value of having a coach is to hold that mirror up, right? Or to be the truth detector, so to speak.
Yeah.
Be saying, well, how's it really going in your life with your physical health? And
honesty.
yeah, and then
real love.
so track your food, and they come back with a total lie, right?
Yeah, I always do.
You're
Make
like,
it look good.
Really? Yeah, no. Let's.
Yeah, you wouldn't look like this if you ate that.
Right. Let's get serious here.
Yeah.
How much ice cream are you really eating?
Yeah,
How much
right.
beer are you really
See,
drinking?
people they're not honest, man. They're scared to go there. That's the hard part.
That is hard.
Yeah, people don't want to dig into it. It's like.
So do you typically start? And I found this like with a lot of our coaches. People come in and we want to take them right to the transformation and the service, and what they really need is just to start getting their weight under control, or start moving functionally, or heal from something.
Yeah, I mean, my work is now it's not as much health and fitness almost at all. I mean, there's a part of it,
right? But it's got to be part of it.
It's a piece. It's a piece of it.
Physical part. Yeah. If you're way out of balance, it's hard to do any transformation.
For me, it's like health, wealth, relationships. It's all tied together, right?
Yeah.
Those three they affect
health,
each
wealth,
other.
and relationships. You're going to find out all the juice, right?
And so for me, I start with the aspect of like you've wanted to be in better shape. What part of you isn't getting that done?
Right.
So we do step back and we really unpack that. I call it roots and fruits. Like you look like a tree, you have roots. If your roots are healthy and they're strong and stable, you produce great fruit.
Right.
Most people's fruit sucks, which is like your career, finances, like your lift, your purpose of why you do stuff, your education, like whether you take trips and escape and enjoy life. But their roots suck, so they can't produce that fruit. And the roots like faith, family, health, friends, and emotions. If you have lack of control or lack of depth there, and you don't even admit it or acknowledge it, then what ends up happening is like you can't figure out why I can't produce any fruit in my life. And so for us, we go back and figure these things out, and each one of them has an area, and I call it an identity gap. Yeah, it's who I want to be, and that's who I am, right? So who I am has what I have, and if I don't like this or something wrong, there's somebody we need to be that has what it is we want. And these gaps are like gaps in our identity of a person who just naturally does certain things. Right. And so when I start like looking in, I'm like, all right, so for your faith, like if it's just personal faith, whatever, religious faith, like why isn't it deep? And we start to really poke and prod and dig individually. So it's not like what's the one thing, like we dial in, like where we at. Because now that we know this, it's like, all right, this is what we got to work on. Like it's like people call it tough love. I think it's like real love.
Yeah, of course.
Because real love is like, hey, I'm loving you enough to tell you what you need to hear. And I think it's like the people are like always just pacifying you. Like it doesn't make you better. So like I need people in my life that just call me my stuff, man. Like I got good friends. I got some good friends that are good at it, but I respect them enough to let them call me on it, right? You gotta have that kind of setup. But when you can really dig in, man, that's where you can see. Yeah. Because see should have pain.
I agree. And what's how do you find success in getting people to actually close that gap?
So it's all work. It's as much as I would like to make it really big and philosophical, it's
just
like
holding them accountable to the daily work.
Well, people protect what they create. You know that, like so we actually help them create this plan based on the gaps. So it's not arbitrary work. They're bought into it because they know what they got to work on. We just unpack this. Now it's like I'm gonna help create this. And for me, like I talked about, I need you to at some point in time say like I'm not this person trying to do this thing. This is who I am now. Because when you're at that stance, like success becomes like your second nature. It's like an autopilot, and like people, I look at you like, how do you just make this happen, man? Like, it just, are you special? Like, no, it's just who I am. Like, you shrug your shoulders, like it's normal to me. Right. And when you get someone to that stage, that's how the shift starts, like closing the gaps.
Yeah, that's right. Work. So the C naturally flows into the shift.
Naturally flows in
because you're closing the gap, and in order to close the gap, you have to see the type of person you want to be, especially in those areas, and also the type of person who's beyond that, like the real center of you that wants to be physically fit, have healthy relationships, be a person
why do you want to do it, unpack
the
all
why
that.
And then once you kind of align those, that's the shift.
Well,
and once the shift happens, then all that stuff becomes easy. It becomes maintenance.
You get to a maintenance point. We call it, actually, this is perfect for you, but it's a matter of design, develop, deploy.
Yeah.
So like I designed this, it's called ideal identity that I want to be based on the gaps I just saw.
Right.
What is the identity that I want to be have that's opposite
And do you
of this?
like articulate that with, in written form? Or,
we have full
or
curriculum
with
I've
a vision
developed.
board or?
Yeah, we have a full. I'm a brain. I'm a thinker guy. Like I spent a lot of time in learning how to teach, learning how to create frameworks and structure.
Sure.
So I didn't want to come in and be a guy who just has a cool story, because that doesn't help somebody's life. Go watch a movie.
No,
But for
well,
me,
it
it's
can
like,
help them get motivated, but that's about it.
Yeah,
That's
right.
where it
But
stops.
motivation takes you to what you know.
Right.
So how do I get them to know more? So I teach them. And so it's like, it's not just articulated, but it's like, it's designed and structured for you to understand, how do I design an ideal identity? Then how do I develop a plan for my life to get this done? That's more of like the structural actions I'm going to take, and then put it into the world, deploy. And then for you, obviously, you deploy, you come back, you debrief. Right now we figure out what to design, and see the same process goes. And that's how the shift flows. So at the end of this, we've gone through it enough to where it's like, it's usually a 4-month process. Like, this is who I am now. I'm the person that gets up and exercise, and I eat right, and I do this work, and I don't cut things off. I don't procrastinate. I play with my kids. Like, it's now who I am. And someone looks at them like, you're different. Like, yeah, I am.
And then you got to habituate it until
Yeah.
it's just, and then you improve it. You iterate and improve
And now
it.
you believe it's you.
And you believe it. I love that. That's a really powerful process. How many clients do you work with? And most of your work is online now, you said, and through seminars?
Primarily online, yeah. I'm seasoned a dad, man. I don't like to be on the road too much.
Yeah.
And I don't,
That takes a
time
lot out
is
of you.
tight for me. So like I only have no more than 4 one-on-ones. Everything else is group. So we do groups, and we have stages like the shift starters, that C phase, shift incubators, like the community. It's more of like the environment to shift, and they actually have the shift accelerator. Once I've shifted, I'm kind of like that new person. How do I go? And so I spend my time with my 4 one-on-ones and then coaching throughout those programs.
Nice. And to scale, what about, do you plan to certify coaches?
Yes, 100%. I'm glad you asked that. Most people don't think about that, man.
Yeah,
Look
no,
at you.
That's where we've done.
Yeah.
We started that 3 years ago, so we got about 100 coaches
Yeah,
in
I'll
the
get there. I'm not
process
there
of
yet.
certification. Well, you got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're pretty close.
Yeah, well, the framework
The
structure
world
is there.
needs you to do it.
Oh, I'm going to. It's not
Anthony,
a question.
you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
the more people, like we've got a great program, Unbeatable Mind. You got a great program. I'm all for it because, the life coach paradigm needs to be shattered, because most people didn't really have a lot of structure, and it was just personality driven, and they weren't creating the transformation. I'm not, I shouldn't cast a blanket statement like that. There's
I
like
think
over
it's duplicatable
500 certification programs out there.
Yeah, I think the problem is not a lot of duplicatable processes, what people were
Right.
doing back then. Like
Right.
for me, it's like I got to make sure that what I do with you, I can do with the 500th person.
That's right. And
That's what I need.
and achieve the same type of result.
Exactly.
It's going to be different for every person, but yeah. And you know what? As far as the outcome, what you said was key, is that ultimately it's not just so you can make sure that you have more than a 3-month career in the NFL, or you get the Navy SEAL trident, or you become the successful entrepreneur. It's so that you can serve.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, tell me if you agree with this, serve with a more world-centric, open-hearted perspective.
Yeah. Genuinely though. Like not because you want to reach the world for more
Genuinely, right. Exactly. Not because you want to be the next unicorn or something like that company, but because you want to serve all of humanity, or all sentient beings. And that's a world-centric perspective that flows from the integration of heart and mind into your actions. And then from that perspective, you make decisions that are good for Mother Earth, are good for all humanity, and more sustainable. And then it does shift culture.
It does.
So the individual shift that you're trying to speak of, when it happens at scale, will shift culture to more positive.
And that's the idea, man. I came into a world that wasn't that great for me.
Yeah, it was
so if
negative
I can leave
for
it
you.
better, that's what I want to do.
That's awesome. So have you written anything on your process at all? Because that should be valuable for people
So
to read.
it's funny to you ask that. I have one book I previously wrote, was my autobiography, more of a cathartic thing. Get it out of my soul. I want to have it on paper. Family can see it. And it's been more crazy since I wrote it.
You need to update it.
Yeah, I do. I need to
Version
update it.
2.
Legitimately. It's called Part 1, because I knew it was going to be
Oh, no
Part
kidding.
2.
Oh, that's
Dude.
cool. I like that.
That was back like maybe 14.
Is that the title of the book, or
It's called Trust Your Hustle.
Trust Your Hustle?
Trust Your Hustle, Life Forged by Fire.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool autobiography. For me, at least, obviously, I wrote it, so I think it's cool,
Yeah,
right?
of course. You got to believe in your own shift, right?
Yeah,
So
the
to
next
speak.
book is more of like a want to be dog year, get some information, apply it to your life. And so the next one's going to be called Shift, how successful people make shift happen. That or how to make success your second nature.
Yeah. So you're in the process of writing this now? No, like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I'm literally the first chapter is already done. I've got the structure already done. I'm working with the copywriter. Like, yeah, we're getting all this stuff.
Oh,
Not
good.
Copywriter, but more ghostwriter. Because I can talk, but it's not like book perfect. But it's also going to be in my voice. You know the process.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I work better by writing.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried ghostwriters and they can never get my voice.
Oh, no,
Everyone's
I write.
different.
It's hard to explain. So I write, but my words aren't perfect. And they kind of go
Yeah.
in.
So they improve it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
kinda,
Good editor, writer, ghostwriter can really help improve, but ultimately,
it's gotta be
when
me
you
on
read
paper.
it, you're like, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Oh, it has to be that.
Right.
Because I can't put something in the world that I don't feel like is like me. Because my name's on it.
Right.
Like if my name's on, it's gonna live past me. This thing better be like me. So
Right.
yeah, I'm not trying to put it out there just to like get it sold. Like it's weird. Like when I think of writing books, it's not always a matter of like I want to sell a bunch. I want people to get them. Like if I give it away, it's fine. It's like as long
Sure.
as people get the book,
Yeah.
but it's got to come.
You want the book to help people and
Yeah.
also draw people into a process.
Exactly.
And
'Cause
whether they get the transformation work from you or from someone else, I feel the same way. It doesn't matter. As long as the book lights their fire, wakes them up a bit, and
Yeah.
gets them on the process,
that's it.
on a path,
Yeah, it's the purpose of it.
toward a better life. What's your vision for the future?
Mine. Or
No,
the
just
world's?
both. The world and your relationship to it.
Yeah, man.
That's a pretty big question.
It is. I think it's a good question.
Only
though.
followed by the meaning of life, and then we'll end it
Yeah.
there.
What is the meaning of life, right? I think
47.
at this level, this stage of my life, what I've experienced and what I know, the big thing for me is for me to have a good lineage of like my genealogy, like my kids. I want them to be good human beings, and I want them to be very proud of dad. I want to also have like an amazingly huge funeral, because yeah, I won't be there. I will, but I won't.
You'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
You'll be
bro.
hovering over it.
Yeah,
like,
right?
Yeah, this is what I was
But
talking
I
about.
think like a lot of people focus on trying to have like an amazing business on it, which is all good. But the work I do, like if I just help you with a little thing because I help fix your shoe or something like that's cool. But like I want you to really have a connection to me as a human, and like man, this guy changed my life, and have them come see me off. That's just kind of a weird. I'll never be there, but like I know I want to have that kind of impact. And then for the
that's
world,
cool because having that kind of vision, helps you understand what gaps exist still in your own life for you to be the type of person that's worthy of that.
yeah, I always got to keep working.
So you're always evolving.
Yeah.
Do you have a coach, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone needs a coach.
Oh, you have to.
Even the coach.
I
best
think
coaches
it's
need a
weird
coach.
that people are like, I'm a coach. You have a coach? No. Like, why? How are you doing?
Right. Exactly.
Like when I was in the NFL, I had a coach, one of the best in the world.
Right.
But what makes you think that you don't need a coach? It's odd, but I get it.
Totally agree. I totally get it. I think that's going to be one of my next books. Is just all about coaches and mentoring and the power of them.
It should be. I think someone needs to write that. To be honest, I've had conversations about that needing to be something that people grasp because there's still a weird like faux
People
pas
don't
of
get
coaching.
it. They want to do it alone. It's part of our
self-made.
Puritan ethic, right? I guess,
Yeah.
or maybe that's not right, but something about our culture caused us to want to be staunch individualists.
Yeah, I
And
don't
to
know.
think
what it
we
is.
can do it alone.
And the thing is, when you do it alone, you celebrate alone, and I don't like celebrating alone.
Well, also you don't get the results that you get if you have a real solid team behind your back
Takes
and
you
a
longer.
family supporting you. And we have multiple teams and a team of mentors supporting you. Anyways, I kind of interjected. So, vision for the world.
Vision for the world, I think, is
20 years from now.
20 years.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 20 years from now we'll have like AI. So hopefully it's not the Terminator happened.
Yeah, right.
I think that'd be the
I don't
one.
think that's happening. Between you and me, there's no way that AI or technology is going to gain sentience. and be
Yeah,
conscious.
I would hope it wouldn't.
It's not
And I just don't know. You look at the Google guys. I mean, who knows?
Well,
I
a
think-
lot of those guys think it's going to happen, but I think that they're looking at the brain the wrong way. They're looking at conflating consciousness to brain,
Yeah.
and the brain and the mind are not the same things.
Yeah. I think for me, vision of the world, and this is gonna be interesting coming from a black guy. I don't think equality is a need as much. I think everybody wants equality, and racism exists to some extent. But like, I'm not the guy that like, so maybe I have to work harder. So just work harder, right?
Right.
And so for
I'm
me,
with
it's,
you on that. Equality is not the same as sameness, right? We're not the same.
No.
Everyone's unique.
everybody wants you to be the same, and it's like I don't.
like
I
I
want to be the
deeply
same.
respect you, and I deeply respect Jeff and even myself, but we're not the same.
No, and it's okay. I think
We
we're
have
lenient.
equal opportunity,
Yeah, we do, and I think what it
and
boils
we have
down
equal
to.
opportunity to fuck things up too.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's the thing I think people are failing to grasp in today's climate. I think for me, I would much prefer worlds to have, like our world to have acceptance.
Right.
Like, no, but pure, like true. 'Cause
Yeah.
everybody talks about I accept
Heartfelt from the heart.
Because if you have that, then it doesn't matter what people do or say. You accept that person's angry today.
Yeah.
Like,
I like
so I don't
that.
got to take your words. And so, like, I live my life in a space of, like, I step out of common, boundaries for most people. And yes, some people, they don't like it. but I accept that they don't like it. I don't have to, so like I'm not equal to you, and I don't have the same, in some areas I may not have an equal opportunity, but that's okay. Like I have an acceptance of that. But I think a lot of people aren't getting to the point of like they want something they're not willing to give.
Right.
And when I can get to
It's still playing the victim.
Yeah, so if I can get to the point of like having whatever I do or whatever I live by example be something that helps change the world, I think that would be better. Like the later on world, I don't know if equality will ever exist, but I think if acceptance can exist, which is also acceptance of what you got to do,
right?
Like then
You're a part in it, right?
Yeah, then it's a different world you live in.
I agree. Awesome. How can people find out more about you, your program, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, go to @AnthonyTrucks on Instagram. That's where I do all my work. And then one of the things I look at, you get it. When you're faced with a challenge, I bet like you fire up and lean into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same way I'm built, and it's a go identity. And I find there's other people, they see that, they slow down. So I have a quiz called the Slower Go Identity Quiz, slowergo.co. You can go there and take the quiz. It'll give you a kind of a feel of who you are, where you stand, and how it affects your life, as well as how to shift from a slow to a go identity.
Oh, that's cool. slowergo.co.
Slowergo.co.
That's easy to remember.
Easy, right?
Slower Go.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we got to go.
I got to go. I got to get down.
You got to go because you got to go podcast with Big Joe.
Yeah, man.
Big Joe D.
I'm telling me he owes you some
Tell
burpees.
him Mark said he owes me some burpees. He'll smile and be like, yeah.
I'll let him know.
Yeah.
I'll not make him knock him out.
Right. I'll tell him I'll be
podcast.
doing with him. I did last year. We did a podcast together, and I made him do burpees, 200 of them before it.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. It's really nice to meet you. Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Hoo-yah. All right, folks. Anthony Truck, slowergo.co.
Yeah.
And @Anthony Truck, TRUCKS.
Yes. Or plural.
Plural, Trucks. On Instagram, Facebook, that kind of stuff. And check out his book and look for his new book, as yet untitled. Aw Shift.
Aw Shift's the title. It's just a matter of the tagline that we're figuring out.
I like that play. Aw Shift. And thank you very much for your support of Unbeatable Mind. Do the work and follow a process. Yeah, that structure frees us in the long run.
It does.
And get a coach. Hoo-yah. Divine out. Hey, this is Mark Divine. Thanks very much for watching the Unbeatable Mind podcast on YouTube. You can also find the podcast at iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and unbeatablemind.com/podcasts. Be sure to check out the new episode released every week. Hoo-yah.